Good morning. My eternity. This is what we're looking for. How to stay eternal. I can buy insurance. I can spend all my budget in my life just to extend my age, my life, my insurance, my eternity. We have a world that we call a physical world, which is the one we are living in. We have a world that we call metaphysical world, and we have a world of the divine names. The world, the physical world, we call it in Arabic, Alim al-Mulk. The world, the metaphysical world, some of them philosophers, they use the word metaphysical world. Religious people, they say Alim al-Malakut. And the word of the divine names, Alim al-Jabarut. Why do we have to know about these things? It's a very good question. Human being is subject to an identity. He is seeking an identity. From his early age, he's seeking an identity. Unconsciously, he's looking for an identity to give him a rank so that he doesn't feel oblivious. Of course, all the time is misplaced identity. It's a wrong one. Vulnerable to identities, exposed to all fake, illusory identities all the time. Yet, I said unconsciously, but unconsciously, he is seeking identity without realizing. It's eternity, without realizing it. From where do you get these eternity? Humans being conscious is exposed to one, cannot avoid from being subject, exposed to one of the three audiences. Creature like him. When we mean by audience, he is seeking an audience from his early age as a baby. He's playing, he needs his parents' attention, parental admiration. He wants that. If you talk to someone and you ignore him, you're going to find him crying. And then after being raised, in his age of puberty, you're going to find him, like you hear in this modern society, they say the conflict of generation. He feels being suffocated by an identity he doesn't want to. And then we say, he wants to find liberty, freedom. You find all the kids, all the youngsters, 16, 17, and then I want to do whatever it is, anything that is prohibited, that was prohibited before 18 years old, I will do it. That's a part of my freedom. And he's seeking another identity and then doesn't realize that he's being shifted by a magnetic field from outside, the magnetic field of prestige, reputation that is shifting him from one stage to another in all his life. Sometimes the person is captive of an audience, of a reputation, of his entourage all his life without realizing it. And he feels really being subject of being oblivious for not satisfying this audience that for him this is the one that is going to validate his existence. That's a validation he gets. Now, getting back to the world, physical world, metaphysical world, and the world of the divine names. I said human being is subject to one of the three audiences. Admiration from creature like him. Being self-admired, not an admiration to admire. I like to see something. No. To become up to the point that right or wrong is seen according to my own egoistic desires. That's a self-admiration. Or the third one, which is the most neglected one, to be exposed to the oneness of God. The reason why the beginning in the Muslim world, the teaching, the first model, the first teaching is to teach a kid when the Muslims were in a very, very, very advanced, all the kind of masters, all the sciences. Each kid surprises you with something. Not like today. Today, it's just a followers. They teach the kid to develop his uniqueness under the oneness of God. There is something he ignores. Condition that he ignores the results. And he doesn't fear the uncertainty. They teach him to give. They teach him to free himself from that kind of labyrinth or being captive by, just to satisfy the audience. One day, audience A wants him to do this, he does it. That's a slavery. It's an intellectual slavery. Another audience is another reputation, he does that, and he is being shifted from one age to another without realizing it. Changes of life are not his. As I said, the only one audience that is neglected, the person doesn't want it, is the oneness of God. Now, when we say the oneness of God, physical world for the person is dormant, stagnant, doesn't change for him according to his perception. A metaphysical world, where is it? For as I said earlier, metaphysical is a world where things are, perhaps for the philosophers, a world is changing, is not stagnant. For the religious people, Alim al-Mulk is the world of the jinn and the angels. The Jabarut, which is Alim al-Jabarut, which is of God's names, is to be under the oneness of God. Now, what is the position of a human being? Why he has to know about these things? Because this is where resides his eternity. Now, human being is fluctuating. How does he fluctuate? When we say the oneness of God, when we say the divine names, Alim al-Jabarut, which is God's names and how their impact in this existence. There is nothing in this existence. There is only God's names that are influencing transcendence also, and also an impact in this existence. Existence is itself, it is coming from nothingness into existence, being brought forth from nothingness into existence all the time, while being exposed. In other words, in the void, in the ether, when it was in pre-existence, waiting for the oneness of God is not waiting for anything to bring it or to rescue it, si on veut. Rescue it from nothingness into existence. That's a human being also. The reason why I say God in one of the verses say, when he said, he gave these words to heavens and earth. He said, you come voluntarily or involuntarily. This is towards God. They said, we come voluntarily, worshipfully. In other words, you're coming anyway. It is better for you. I gave you the chance to decide on your own and to come here. You are in harmony with existence. Otherwise, you're going to be in conflict with existence. You're coming anyway. Just hand wrestling existence. Hand wrestling God is hand wrestling existence. When we say Alim al-Jabarut divided into two, we have what we call at-tashbih, the likeness, and at-tanzih, unlikeness. What does it mean? You understand God that he can hear, he can see, he has all these influence because you are a prototype of God. Because you share this with God. He said, share what? You are God's image on earth. That's how you understand. This is a tashbih. Yet, if you remain with this kind of concept, you'll be characterized by your own, the way you perceived it or conceived this ideology, you will be characterized. There is unlikeness. You say, yes, that's true, God hear. Because I have an ear, but God doesn't hear like me. God is not characterized by time and space. All God's names influence, they are at-tashbih, at-tanzih. And why? You are here on earth. The world is dormant. It doesn't change. This is according to your perception. In reality, it doesn't. It is moving. But what the person sees, he sees with the eyes that have been characterized by the mind that has been characterized by time and space in this world of phenomenon. Look what he said about every single atom in this existence is at-tasbih, sabbih. You know, the word at-tasbih is to verbalize God's splendor, God's astonishment. Every atom, everything. Therefore, it is moving. Not even like, motion, but words. But we don't know that. There was a rock, small rock, that was in the hand of a prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it was expressing tasbih. All the companions were amazed. And then he put it in the hand of Abu Bakr, and it kept tasbih, kept reciting the tasbih. When he put it in the hand of Umar, it stopped. God knows why. These are ranks in life. Now, when I say this, the word is in a constant but. We don't see it because we have been characterized by that. But if we deal the world with the world, dormant world, we are only encoding, recording, developing emotions stagnant according to our perception. When we have the oneness of God, likeness, unlikeness, be careful. Unlikeness, ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. The emotions in the person's mind will be developed according to your faith. You say faith, this is in religion. This is your conception. There's nothing stagnant. Now, you want to worship a sun, go ahead. You worship the sun. This is scientifically proven that there will be a cataclysm once a human being moved from this earth. That will be a cataclysm in this existence. Those emotions that have been developed with or for other than a oneness of God, they were for the sake of creature, they will be secretion with that cataclysm. An emotion that was developed for the sake of another audience other than the oneness of God, it will fail and will fade and will disappear. And he finds himself living with death. Well, death after death, what does it mean? It's a painful. But the one that was developed under the oneness of God, that emotion is not an extrinsic, it's an intrinsic. And that's, the person will live in those dimensions. The dimensions are not external of him, extrinsic. Human being, after he lives this world, the immensity of this existence. What is this existence? Galaxies. Where were those galaxies? There were before in a single agglomeration, before the Big Bang. Therefore, they were one point here. I mean, in monism, this is another philosophy, They were in one single agglomeration, and then after the explosion of the Big Bang, they start being dispersed. But they were here, in the mind of the believer. And why I say the believer? Because God once said the believer, he lives under the oneness of God. The other one, he is fragmented, when the faith is itself fragmenting the mind. He travels in his mind. With that conception, there will be no distance. The person after this world, when he travels or moves, don't be surprised in the barzakh, interspace between this world and the next world. Don't be surprised that the person, that's the real life. Nothing is stopping the believer, the sincere one. Most of people, of course, I should say, I see the majority, they say, that's it, it's an unconscious or maybe in a comatose state and then resurrected. This is the best of them. Be careful. Body is decomposed. The real development starts after you close your eyes. And how's that? What is the length of the time of a physical encounter between a man and a woman? 15 minutes, 20, half an hour, 1 hour. Comparing 9 months of pregnancy, disregarding prematurely delivered babies. 9 months. When you compare 9 months of like an hour to 9 months, is nothing. After 9 months, baby is developed. A woman will push him. She likes it or she doesn't like it. She pushes him. The time a person spends from one person to another, it differs. Those that temptation, effort to do in this world, it doesn't allow him. He lives only 100 years. I'm giving an extreme. What is 100 years? Can you visit the galaxies? You are not here to see. You are here to prepare the eyesight to see. After that, you continue to develop your vision. You're not here to taste. You're here to prepare the taste. You're not here to walk. You are here to prepare the willpower to allow you, after you close your eyes, all of these that you've had voluntarily. You return them to the Creator and to be substituted by His power, which is La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Those will be generated after you close your eyes. Then you're gonna visit and you're gonna see, you will develop. The day of resurrection, the same thing. A woman pushes the baby. The land of resurrection will push a human being to stand outside, and each person will have his own image, according to his faith and according to his deeds, actions. Getting back to the world, physical world, metaphysical world, and the world of the divine names. A human being is between. What is he doing here? Under the supervision, voluntarily, worshipfully under the oneness of God. What is resulted in his conscience, that is exactly this conscience, his actions, conscience, that is his metaphysical world. And metaphysical is beyond the physical. He was not characterized by the world of phenomenon. He allowed it by a taslim to the divine names. One side is a tashbih. No. He just understood it, and then a tanzih, which is unlikeness. That made his conscience in a constant state of metamorphism, and then his metaphysical world, this is where he entered, actually. This is his metaphysical world. Reason why, when God spoke to Moses, peace be upon him, the first time he said, after remove your sandals, and he said, through your cane. And then he said, what is in your right hand? He said, my cane or my stick. أتوكأ عليها. He said, I lean on it. After God asked him to throw it, actually he's not throwing it. It's more of a detach yourself from it. He threw it and it became a snake. Well, let's not take this as like some kind of 1001 night. Try to understand it. What are the characteristics of the reptile? It became a snake. Reptiles, they crawl, they swift, they crawl. But the thing is, they change the color on the area on which they crawl. You, as a perceiver, with your decision, you look at it. Before, you look at the brown color and then you don't even see the snake when it's not moving. By the time it moves, it scares you and you don't even know what does it mean. You have never seen a snake, but what moves is the solid start moving. What did you decide? You say it's a brown and then it moves to a green area and becomes a green. You took a decision earlier, you say it's brown and definitely, and then you change it and then you find yourself in contradiction. When the world, this world, became in a constant state of metamorphism is when you detached yourself from it. Then when he says seize it back, take it back, he took it, it became static, that's it. You will understand the world when you detach yourself from you detach yourself from your ego, from this material world, you will see it. While, that's a very important point, having the oneness of God in your mind, you will see the world moving, the same thing, this snake moving and changing the color. Philosophers, they say, is the material world, this world, is it the property of the world or it is the property of our perception? This is what they stopped. They said, some of them, they said, no, it's the property, but most of them, they said it's a property of our perception. Actually, it's neither nor. This is just a degree of knowledge. God says, لَهُمْ ذَلِكَ مَبْلَغُهُمْ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. He didn't say bad, he's not rejected. He said, this is what you understood, and that's it. That's your rank. People of wisdom, the people of wisdom, you saw it with your own eyes, your own mind, which is static, most of people. That's how you see it. It's the perception of the property of my perception. But the person of wisdom, the person on the oneness of God, he will see it differently because he sees with God's eyes and he touched with God's hands, and that's Hadith Qudsi. It is still my servant worshipping me until I become his hand, his eyes, his ear. People, they can hear, beyond time and space. That's another topic. Getting back to the eternity. What is developed, an emotion developed under the oneness of God, this fluctuation, you are on the physical world. Accept it, it's a physical world. We are stagnant because just to allow, we are controlled by the gravity. Then, if you remove this from the mind, you constantly detached. Detach is not detached. You're not going to have a house or you're not going to have a car or something, but attachment a lot doesn't allow you, doesn't give you a chance to develop, you understand? So it's always giving you like this kind of egoistic perception. Now, anyway, thinking about eternity, the day of judgment, under the oneness of God, that will develop something that is flowing in the mind. In this world, you find harmony. No one whatsoever, whoever is, can describe it or put it into words. Now, the outer and the inner. These are one of God's names. Sometimes the transcendence from God comes from the outer, and then you don't find it. Pay attention when you pray, for instance, or you ask God to give something. You're looking for to get a bullion of gold. That's fine. What is preventing you from asking that? He is giving you all the time. If it's not through the name, the outer, it's through the name, the inner. Look at yourself, take this example. You want to push a big kind of package, say 200 kilograms, or maybe 5, I should say. You try to push it, they try to push it, praying, God try to push it. It doesn't move. God did not respond to me. That's what person thinks. God didn't want you to move the package. He wants you to develop your muscles. Look at how many muscles have participated in this action. You see, I don't know, triceps, biceps, deltoid, pectorals, and then, the uterus in the back, quadriceps, keep going. God wants you to do that. It is the same thing about conscience. Certain things don't appear right away in this material world, but they have an impact inside your inner world, esoterically, constantly being developed. I hope it didn't go far. Thank you very much for your presence, and I see you soon.